Yo guys, it's Slyroh. You already know that today I'm going to be ranking every single level in Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage. Last year I ranked all of the levels from the original Spyro the Dragon to commemorate its 25th anniversary, and I'm doing the same this year with Spyro 2. The game came out on November 2nd of 1999, so I'm only a little bit late. But regardless, let's jump into it. I'll be taking various factors into account, such as the layout of the level, the music, the atmosphere, and how it looks, the orb challenges. At the end of the day, it's really just going to come down to how fun do I find one level over another, all according to my subjective personal tastes. This is a game that I've been playing since my childhood, and I have completed dozens of times, and I always play to 100% completion, so that is how I'm going to be looking at this ranking today. I recently played through the game again to get all the footage that you're seeing on screen, and that is also going to weigh heavily into my current opinions, so they can change in the future. The only things that are not being taken into consideration for this video are the boss fights. Every other level counts. That includes homeworlds and speedways, because I figure I would just count everything that you can gather treasure and orbs. I decided not to count Dragon Shores as it didn't quite fit the criteria, and also it would probably have just ended at the bottom of the list anyway, because I really hate the roller coaster minigame, which conveniently leaves us with 25 levels to rank. So let me know some of your favorites down in the comments below, subscribe for more videos in the future, and let's go ahead and dive into this list. Starting things off at number 25 is going to be Metro Speedway. And this is maybe my least favorite level in the entire franchise. I'm not the biggest fan of the Speedway levels, but this one specifically, the layout just never really made that much sense to me in terms of navigating through it. I feel like no matter what, I always end up turned around. In most Speedways, there's a clear-cut route that the game wants you to take, and I feel like I can never actually find it in this one, and it just is kind of frustrating, because then I have to spend more time on a Speedway when I would rather be playing a different level. The Hunter Orb mission for this isn't the absolute worst, but it's not good enough to save this level from being at the bottom. Coming in at number 24 is going to be Icy Speedway. The layout for this one is a little bit better, but that doesn't really make it fun. The ice aesthetics are fine, but it's really nothing special. The orb mission on this one sees you navigating Spyro through rings as Hunter is dragging you over the water, and sometimes it can be really finicky, and even if it feels like you should be in a ring, it kind of misses. So that can get frustrating if you get like 75% of the way done and then mess up one and then have to do it over and over again. It's just not very fun. It's a little bit tedious, and for all those reasons and more is why I don't really like Icy Speedway that much. Alright, I promise I don't have all of them right in a row, but number 23 is going to be Ocean Speedway. And this one I do actually like parts of it. It's fairly basic and straightforward when it comes to the layout. I think the environment and aesthetic is nice. It's very warm and inviting, flying through the rings and the arches and taking out the boats and cars. But this is another one that I just really don't like the Hunter Orb mission all that much. You're just following him through a bunch of rings, and it can be sort of time consuming, and of course if you miss one as you get towards the end, you have to start all over, which didn't happen to me this time, but the fact that it can still make this really annoying, and it definitely has happened to me in the past. But let's stop talking about speedways for a moment and start moving on to some non-flight stage levels. My least favorite of those, coming in at number 22, is going to be Hurricos. The main thing saving this from the bottom of the list is the design and the atmosphere. I love the dark background and the rain from the sky. The enemy designs are great. Even traversing through the level isn't that bad, as you have to find these diodes to power off the electricity gates and keep moving forward, and all that is perfectly fine and good. Where it starts to falter for me is the orbs, and it's literally all of them. There's obviously the infamous purple enemy one where you just have to sort of keep running around in circles until the enemies show up and then just flame them to get them away and then put the things back. And it's really tedious, really annoying, and can take a while, and is really just not all that much fun. I also don't really love the platforming from fan to fan. I know I specifically had a lot of trouble just landing right on the fan blade. I feel like there was a little bit of depth perception there that was not super fun, and just getting through that whole thing was not my favorite. Navigating the little supercharged power up to make sure that you're aiming it at the right spot, it's, you know, a little wonky. Some of that might have been my controller. I think my controller is not the best for my most recent playthrough, but it can lead to some tediousness and frustrating stuff that really just makes this level not completely my favorite, but it's not like all bad. There's something good for the rest of the levels on this list. Coming in at number 21 is going to be Cloud Temples. I really like the magical thing that this level is going for with the wizards and all the moving platforms and all that sort of stuff. All that is great. I also really like the mission where you have to ring the 3 bells using the ice breath. That is something that I really enjoy, and just, you know, maneuvering through the level is perfectly fine and good. The main thing that I don't like is that secret agent mission. It is honestly maybe my least favorite thing to do in all of Spyro 2, so much that I really thought this level was going to end up coming in at 24, and my most recent playthrough wasn't that bad, and that kind of bumped it up to 21 because I was like, maybe I was a little harsh. But I still don't love this level, but it is fine. Coming in at number 20 is going to be Zephyr, and this honestly feels too low with how cool of a concept this level is, and the fact that they're at war with the breeze builders, and you're like on the battlefield, there's, you know, bombs flying at you from overhead, and cannons for you to shoot, and all that's well and good, except for the part where I actually don't like the bombs flying from overhead when I'm not paying attention and I get hit by them. Hurting the Calyx is also really tedious and not super fun. I do like the Romeo and Juliet mission with the beans and all that. That is fun. I do think the fact that there is a better version of this in the third game sort of takes away when I go back and play this, where I'm like, I don't know, the puzzle's fine, but it's not like the best thing ever. I do enjoy it though. But in terms of aesthetics and the characters that are there and the story that's being told, I do think it is fantastic. But I don't have the most fun playing through it, and there's a lot of other fun levels in this game that are going to rank above it. Coming in at number 19 is going to be Robotica Farms, which also sort of has the same thing where the aesthetics and the characters and level design is so cool. I love all the robot bugs and all that is great. There's just a couple of missions in this one that I don't really like all that much. The first one is keeping the fly things off of the scarecrows. They respawn at like the worst times, and if you don't get the right angle, it's just like, I don't know, I always found that I was flying like right behind them or right under them, or I would flame it, I would just miss for some reason, and it can be really tedious and annoying. I've also found the supercharge one on this one to be a little bit finicky. I feel like, I don't know if this is another instance of my controller like acting up and just like not controlling perfectly good, but I feel like I remember even when I was playing it as a kid, I couldn't always like direct the supercharge as easy and fluidly on this one as I could in other levels. Maybe it's because you're on top of like a narrow thing, and if you fall off, you fall off, or what it is, but that one's also like, it's fine, but it's not great. So I really do just have to find like the nitpicks as to like, oh, why does this rank below this, or you know, below other ones. But that doesn't mean that it's a bad level. I still enjoy this game, and I still enjoy this level, but it's not as good as the other ones. Coming into number 18 is going to be Aquaria Towers, and I'm going to be honest, before making this video and before doing my most recent playthrough, I have always said that this is my least favorite level in all of Spyro 2. Outside of Metro Speedway, of course, that one has been my least favorite for a while, but I've never really was a fan of Aquaria Towers. But the more that I play it, the more that I find that it's really not as bad as I used to think it is. I think the sharks kind of gave me nightmares for a while, and I was just scared to navigate the level in fear of these sharks coming after me. But once you know where they are, it's not really that big of a deal. Traversing in the water is not that bad, and the missions here aren't that bad either. Going up the towers is pretty cool, you know, getting the enemies, trying not to get hit by the electricity and all that. All that is perfectly well and good, and even going through the rings in the mission with Hunter, with like the Manta Ray, even that's not that bad in this level. I do think navigating the level can be a little bit confusing, especially when everything is filled with water and you just have to sort of try and reconnect where things are and where things were, where you've been, where you're going. Which especially becomes an issue when you are missing some gems, and I always end up missing some gems playing through this game, and I know that you can just have sparks point you towards them, but even with that, sometimes you're just like not in the right room for it, or if you're up where the Manta Ray section is, you could have treasure up there, or it could be right below, and Sparks doesn't do a great job of differentiating like if you're on the right level or not. So that's not like a guaranteed way. It does help. But yeah, those are the few things that sort of knock it down for me, but this is a level on the rise. I used to dislike it so much more, so maybe there's room for it to grow in the future, who knows. Coming in at number 17 is Summer Forest, which is the first homeworld that we're going to see on today's list, and this one is really basic and straightforward, but does just have points for being the first homeworld and a place of comfort that you come back to after each level in the first world. There isn't really much that stands out here outside of gliding lessons with Hunter and learning to swim and going under the water to find that orb that I used to always have trouble finding when I was a kid. So there's nothing overwhelmingly positive about this level, there's also nothing overwhelmingly negative, and so that is what is going to land it here at number 17 as sort of like a benchmark. Is everything above this, I really start running out of bad things to say about these levels. Coming in at number 16 is going to be Canyon Speedway, the best speedway in the game, because the aesthetics here are really good. The layout and order of the tasks that you have to do makes sense, and it's like easy to do. And the Hunter mission doesn't suck. I actually really like this one in hitting the balloons with the targets and whatnot. And there's not a lot of time that goes by, so even if you get towards the end and have to start over, I feel like you're wasting like less time, and it just feels less tedious because it's more enjoyable to do. It is still a flight stage and a speedway, so it's not going to rank too highly, but in terms of flight stages and speedways, I really don't have much bad to say about this one. I actually kind of like Canyon Speedway. Coming in at number 15 is going to be Winter Tundra, the third homeworld of the game. I like the winter and ice and snow aesthetics of this level, the sense of finality that it brings as you get closer to the final boss. There's not many challenges here in terms of where the orbs are. I always did struggle finding the one orb that you have to go behind the wall and like under the water with. But now I do a pretty good job of remembering that it's there, so that's not really a negative anymore. You also get to learn head bashing here, and head bashing is fun. So I don't really have any other notes about Winter Tundra, so let's keep it moving. Coming in at number 14 is going to be Breeze Harbor. This level has you on the flip side of the war between Breeze Harbor and Zephyr, and the aesthetics of this level are much better. I really like going through this level from start to finish. The challenges here really aren't that bad, as the one is just shooting the spike enemies, and then the other one is the infamous trolley one. But as long as you don't mess up too many times, it's actually kind of fun, and seeing as I'm an absolute gamer, it's been a while since I've had some trouble with the trolley, eh? The only thing knocking this down is the fact that it can be a little inconvenient to go back around the level to get all of the gems, just because of where the cannons are and where those treasure chests that you have to shoot are. It's not like right along the path where you have to go, and you have to backtrack a little bit. And there's a couple sections, or one specifically, where you have to like cross a gap with like a boat that you have to wait for. It's really not that big deal in the grand scheme of things, but again, I need to find the little nitpicks to separate one level from another as we start to approach a tier of really, really good levels. Coming in at number 13 is going to be Shady Oasis, and I really don't have any bad things to say about this level. I've always liked the aesthetic of this level. I've thought that the main hippo guy that you talk to is a fun character. I like the process of getting him a berry to eat so that way he grows big and strong and busts through the walls. I've always found that pretty funny. Having to come back at a separate time to do the head bashing minigame has always been a little weird to me, as I don't really think it's all that much fun, but it's not bad. I'm pretty neutral on it. But yeah, really good level. Coming in at number 12 is Glimmer, the first level of the game, and this one is just nostalgic as being the very first one that you go through. I do like the crystals coming out of the ground and all around. The missions here are perfectly fine, as shooting the lizard is always fun, and flying around shooting the gem lamps is perfectly fun as well. I do have to say, I think part of my enjoyment from this level does come from how much fun it is to traverse around using the extra jump that you can get in Spyro 2. If you guys don't know, there's like a glitch that's only in Spyro 2, where if you jump and then you're holding charge and jump, when you're in midair, you actually get like an extra height, and you can use that to get to some pretty crazy places. Once upon a time, I was trying to teach myself to learn the speedrun strats for this game, and I was thinking of speedrunning this game. Didn't really end up working out, but it was fun to sort of go through that process, and obviously in that process I spent a lot of time in Glimmer learning all of like the little things and out of bounds places that you can go, and is a very, very interesting and fun level on that front as well. But even as a straightforward level and introduction to the game, I think this level does a very good job at what it is supposed to do. Coming in at number 11 is going to be Mystic Marsh, and this level is really interesting in the fact that it really feels very open and it's less linear, as you can sort of go to just about anywhere in the level just right from the start, which I've always found pretty interesting. I think the enemies are fun, especially those giant elephants. I don't know what it is about them, but I do love them. I think the Professor trading minigame is among one of my all-time favorites, and there really just is a lot to like about this level. You get a pretty good look at all of it while chasing around those kangaroo things, and yeah, I've always looked forward to playing this level once I get to the third homeworld. Starting off the top 10 is going to be Scorch. I've always been a fan of desert-themed levels, and this one is no exception. The theming is done really nice. The level layout is very straightforward and linear, which is perfectly fine. The thing that puts this over the top is this being the first time that you meet Handel and Greta, who are just fantastic and add a lot of character to this level as well, which really helps make up for the fact of the bomb mission, which is not my favorite, but it's not as bad as I remembered it being, but it's still not great. But the level design and aesthetics and the characters within it are what bring it this high up. Coming in at number 9 is going to be Fracture Hills, and if you had me make this list before my most recent playthrough, this would have easily been in the top 3, maybe even number 1. So let me start by praising all the things I like about it, and then we'll get into why it dropped a little bit for me. I love the music and the setting and the layout of this level. It is fantastic. I love the characters and the fawns with like the Valley Girl accent. It is my favorite. I love them so much. This level does just have a lot of charm, but there are a couple things, and really one main thing that really set this level back, and it's not the thing that you would think. People will dock this level for the Alchemist mission, that if you do it once, you then get to this Hunter mission where you need the head bash, and that if you leave the level, you have to do that mission again. But because I've played this game so many times, I know going into my playthrough that that's going to happen, so I just don't do the Alchemist mission. And when you only have to do it once, it's really not that bad. The thing I really didn't like about this is I feel like the bottom part with like the earth shapers and all that, I don't love them as like enemies in terms of like actually like beating them and just pushing them like into the thing. Like it's fine, but it's not as fun and creative as the trees and like the bushes and stuff up top. And then the supercharging is really kind of hard to control to get it specifically where you need it, especially when it comes to the treasure. That's like the whole way around and in there. One little thing, you just have to keep doing that over and over, and I'm just really bad at it, so that also did not help. So that's where it kind of knocked it a little bit down for me, but I still do love this level. It is just not among my all-time favorites. Coming in at number 8 is going to be Autumn Plains, and this might feel really high, but I feel like as a homeworld, this is just so much better than every other homeworld in the game. You've got the lower section, and then you learn to climb, and you got the higher section. You have the breakable wall that you go up a whirlwind, and then you're on top of this giant castle, and then you fly onto the castle walls, or you fly into the distance to get the orb there. It's just a lot of really fun stuff, and even like as its own level, even though there's no enemies and no real challenges, it's still very, very fun to explore. The music is very good, and the atmosphere is really nice. Maybe I'm a little biased just because I really love autumn as a season anyway, but I can't really think of how they could have made this homeworld any better. It is literal perfection. I just prefer some of the, other levels more. Coming in at number 7 is Idle Springs. Idle Springs has so much charm and character to it. I love the little tiki guys, both the wooden statue things as well as the little guys that you have to sort of save, and then they'll, use their little hammers to break the locks. It's so adorable. I love it so much. I like the orb challenges, specifically the one where you have the different challenges, like beating the fish to the whatchamacallit, and the puzzle with the boxes that change color. The one where you just put down like the shapes is like probably the weakest of them, but it's still a fun concept overall. Exploring the level is great. You do get a little supercharge. You do get some underwater sections. There's a little bit of secrets, and it's just a really good overall level, and especially for how early it comes in the game, it is just so good. Coming in at number 6 is going to be Sunny Beach, and I've always been a big fan of this level. I've loved the beach vibes and hurting the turtles from the beginning to the end. I enjoy charging into and flaming the big turtles to get them onto the buttons so that way they'll help you progress. I enjoy finding all of the blue boxes of turtles and using the super flame power up on them, as well as coming back later to climb up and save the baby turtles from becoming turtle stew. The baby turtles that you are herding along are also really cute and just have their own little funny personality. The cutscene that plays when you leave the level is also really, really good. I actually can't think of anything bad to say about this level other than maybe it's a bit short, but yeah, not much to complain about this high up on the list. Starting off the top 5 is going to be Metropolis, and I've always loved this sort of sci-fi mix with the animal things to be really cool, like the cows and the pigs that like rocket launch at you. You end up getting a combined flame and flight power up to shoot down the sheep UFOs. I mean, what is not to love about this level? I also like the orb mission where you have to flame the bombs back at the ox. Like, everything about this level is so cool, so creative. The only downside might be I feel like I always end up missing some gems at some point down the line, and because of the elevators taking you to different levels, Sparks is not always super accurate in telling you like where the gem is, because it's kind of hard to know if you're on the right level or not. But that's really not that big of a deal. This level is so good and so creative, and I just love everything about it. Coming in at number 4 is Colossus, and this is another one that was really in contention for my number 1 spot because I absolutely adore this level. I love the monks and their chants. It is fantastic. When you beat the level and then leave, and the cutscene of the monks smashing the other one through the roof of the building by just, I don't know, chanting too hard. It's absolutely fantastic, and I like the orb missions for this one as well. I've always enjoyed the hockey. I probably liked it more when I was a kid than I do now, but I do find it still to be very enjoyable. It's fairly easy for me now, which means that it doesn't take too long to do, and I always did like going back to the level and finding all the statues to flame them as well, and those little spooky like dark spirits, always really liked their design as well. I really just don't have anything bad to say about this level. This is definitely my favorite from the first homeworld, and it is just one of the absolute best. I love it so much. Coming in at number 3 is going to be Magma Cone, and I love this level. This is another one with just a fantastic cutscene, both the intro cutscene and the one when you're leaving. Hilarious. I love it. The characters in this one is so much fun. I also really like the music for this level as well. It is very catchy and will stick with you for a very long time. The visuals of climbing up the side of an active volcano is really, really cool, even if sometimes the climbing mechanics can be a little bit finicky for me here. I still love the visuals of it, and one thing that I absolutely love that I feel like most of the internet does not like is I love crystal popcorn. When I was a kid, I would literally leave Magma Cone, go back in, find the 100 minigame, and I would just keep playing that over and over again. You beat it twice, I would leave, I would come back in. I don't know what it is. To this day, I still find so much enjoyment. At this point, I don't, keep going back and forth and playing it 10 times, but like, I used to. And it never lost its enjoyment. I feel like it is a fun game of following the little Steam thing, grabbing the popcorn, and just being better than Hunter. I think it's fantastic, and that alone is what kind of rockets it up this high. But also the setting, the atmosphere, the music, it all just comes together so well to make this complete package of a fantastic level. Coming in at number 2 is Skelos Badlands, which has actually shot up my personal rankings over the years. I feel like I always thought it was a little overrated, I don't really know, but over the years as I try to find any faults with it, I'm just like, I can't really find any. I love collecting the bones and getting the bone guy to dance. Who doesn't love that? This is another lava fire aesthetic level. You have the dinosaurs that are running around, and I did used to absolutely hate the dinosaur minigame thing, but now I actually find it pretty enjoyable and challenging, but I do really enjoy it, and I do love dinosaurs, so that also helps. The enemies here are really cool. You get a power-up where you can run on the lava. I think, honestly, this is the only level that has that power-up. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's the only one, so it has that going for it in terms of the uniqueness department. I just love the aesthetics, and just everything about this level is fantastic, but there's one level that I felt could top it. And that level for me, at number 1, is Crystal Glacier. I love this level so much. What is there not to love about the little ice builders and all of their little tricks, and the fact that they'll make little stairs for you, and they, they're just all up to their mischief, and I love them so much. This level also has my all-time favorite, cutest character with George, the pet snow leopard. I literally want one of him, please. The snow aesthetics for this one are really gorgeous, and I like the enemies as well, turning the ice builders into ice. You've got the catapult that'll like shoot you across the first gap. Like, this level really does just have a little bit of everything, and it is why it is my favorite. I never was actually the biggest fan of the Dracolit minigame, but I actually find it very enjoyable and challenging, just because you have to get all of them, and if you miss, you have to like just do it again, and it just requires perfection, which I think is pretty neat. So I definitely like it a lot more than I used to. And yeah, that is why Crystal Glacier has become and is currently my number 1 favorite level in Spyro 2. So that is it. That is the list. Let me know what you thought about my opinions. What are some of your least favorite and favorite levels? Where are my opinions crazy? Where am I, maybe spitting some facts? I'd love to hear from you. I plan on doing more rankings in general in the future, as well as one for the Spyro Year of the Dragon levels next year to commemorate that 25th anniversary. So there's a lot of exciting stuff on the way, so make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss it. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, but I hope you all enjoyed the video.